Howdy, partners. Are you ready to go on a thrilling journey through the Old West? Well, if you think you are, you're probably not, because nothing can really prepare you for this game. This is, oh, that's nice. I guess the game goes to a demo if you don't touch a key on the level selection screen for more than about 5 seconds. This game is Billy the Kid from Alive Software. It's an old DOS shareware game, which, well, I'll be perfectly honest, it's not really a very good game. I don't know how much of the quality is coming through just from the demo that you're seeing right now. It's not a terrible game. I think back in the day when it was still new, I think it got a worse reputation than it deserved. It's really, it's certainly not a terrible game, but it does some really weird things with physics and other things. It employs extensive use of, I guess, what's today called video game logic, but was back then just considered quite normal for games. This music is wonderful. Wow. I'm really liking this music. Anyway. Well, it's very considerate of the game to play itself. Now I don't have to concentrate on playing the game while I'm talking. So, the reason why I'm making this video is I was thinking, it's been a while since I made a Let's Play of a full-length game. You know, I've made a few Let's Plays recently of the first 3 King's Quest games, for example, but those are fairly short games by today's standards. I mean, you can play through the original King's Quest in well under an hour if you know what you're doing, and most of those Let's Plays end up being just a few videos long, which is fine, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was thinking about getting back to doing a playthrough of a longer game, and the game that I wanted to do, that I sort of had in my mind of doing, was Freddy Pharkas Frontier Pharmacist, a game from the early mid-90s. Oh, this level's in the shareware part of the game. This level's a little bit ridiculous. I don't know if you can probably kind of see just from the way he's moving. The jumping mechanics in this segment of the game are absolutely ridiculous. I'm still not playing. This is still just the demo, as you can see by the word demo at the bottom. But this is the first part of the game, and it really behaves ridiculously. I guess it's not so bad once you get used to how he moves, but it's still pretty ridiculous. The music is nice, though. I love this music. The music is fantastic. It's probably the only really good thing about this part of the game. Anyway, so yeah, I was thinking of playing Freddy Pharkas Frontier Pharmacist, which is a Western game. One of very few Western-themed adventure games. It's just sort of a genre that's not been done very much. And so I wanted to mention a few things before I start. First of all, the reason that I haven't been doing many videos lately is because, as I mentioned some time ago, I enrolled in university. And really the only reason I'm doing this video now is because I have a break. I have a 2-week break. I finished my first semester. I survived my first semester of university, and now I have a 2-week break. And during that time I thought, hey, let's make a video since I have a little bit of spare time at the moment. And if I'm going to be doing Freddy Pharkas, the first thing I want to say is it's the kind of game that you take very slowly. I have had some people complain in the past that I talk too much when I play games, especially at the beginning. Right at the beginning, before I even start playing a game, I usually do this several-minute spiel where I introduce the game and talk about some stuff about it before I play, and that irks some people. So I thought, rather than put that into the first Let's Play video, let's do it in this video. So first of all, Freddy Pharkas is the kind of game which I think you really want to play slowly and not try to rush through it. And the reason for that has to do with the game's setting. Oh, hey, this is actually the level that I was going to play myself during this video. So, you know what, let's get out of this demo. Hello, can I get out of the demo? Oh, I guess it would help if I had the DOSBox window selected. Alright, let's try this now. So desert, yes, begin game. And here we are, Billy the Kid, alone in the desert. Ain't it sad to be alone? So the way the game works, it's pretty much just a standard action game. You hop around, and Billy the Kid makes this hop sound every time he jumps. It's very nice of him to announce that he's hopping, just in case you hadn't noticed that he is in fact hopping. So he says hop every time he jumps. And it's kind of good in general to kill all the things that can kill you in this game, because otherwise they have a tendency to respawn if you die, which is quite annoying. And I got a key from that barrel. For some reason somebody hid a key in that water barrel. Anyway, so yeah, the game is pretty straightforward. I usually try to, at least in this level, I try to destroy everything that can kill me, because that way there's usually less risk of it respawning later if you die, like these bulls. And yeah, you pick up guns and keys. You need 10 keys to finish the level. You can't exit the game. You can't exit each level of the game with less than 10 keys, which in some situations is a little bit ridiculous, because this level ends in a cave, and for some reason you need 10 keys to enter the cave, as if the cave is locked, even though there's nothing blocking it. I don't know, it's a little bit silly. Like I said, there are some things about this game that are a bit silly. This is probably the best part of the game, which is why I'm playing it. This is probably the most interesting and most fun to play level of the game. The other levels are not as much fun, but this one is at least moderately enjoyable. And, you know, again, it's a Western setting, which goes with the whole Freddy Pharkas thing, because Freddy Pharkas is also a Western game. Now, what I was saying about Freddy Pharkas is the setting. The setting of the game takes place in a small town. It's actually set in Coarse Gold, California, which is sort of an inside joke, because that's the city where Sierra used to be based before they moved to Bellevue, Washington, which is close to Seattle. And, so the whole game, the entire Freddy Pharkas, takes place within Coarse Gold, and it's, oh, here we go. Here comes this tricky jump. So if you can jump over that river, you can skip the second segment of the game. I usually am very bad at doing this. Let's see if I can manage it. Nope, I didn't manage it. If I could have jumped over this river, I could have skipped this whole next part that I'm going to have to do now. Anyway. So, Coarse Gold, California is where Sierra used to be physically located. That's where they started. And so it's sort of a inside joke / reference to that. Freddy Pharkas is set in Coarse Gold. It's not like Space Quest 3. It's not like the ending of Space Quest 3 where you end up getting hired to write computer games for Sierra. Or actually, in that case, it was not you, it was the two guys from Andromeda. But anyway, it's not like that. There's no actual reference to Sierra in the game, other than the fact that it does take place in Coarse Gold, which is a small town in, like, the desert, the California desert. And it's set during Gold Rush times when, you know, when the Gold Rush was a thing in California. And a thing that a lot of people don't like about the game is that it takes place entirely within one town. And that's kind of... I never had anything against that, but I remember seeing some reviews and some commentary on the game from people who said, you know, where's the adventure? You never leave this setting, you never leave this dusty, dirty little small town. And I guess in a sense that's true. I mean, it's not like... I don't know, if you think about some of the later King's Quest games, they really combine a lot of different landscapes together. I'm trying to not avoid getting shot by that guy who's hiding in that barrel up there. Okay, let's do this. You can shoot off screen and have the shots go ahead and hit people after they appear on the screen, like that. Anyway, so if you think about, like, King's Quest V, for example, King's Quest V starts in a forest, of course, and then you go to a desert. There is a desert in the game. And then there's, you know, later on you go to the ocean, so there's the ocean and the beach. There are mountains, of course, you have to cross over. So that's everything. That's all the major territory landscape types in one game. And so it's kind of more of a grand adventure, whereas Freddy Pharkas is the opposite. The whole thing takes place within one city, or not even really a city, but like a small town. And the whole town comprises maybe a dozen screens. It's not really that much. There's really not much to it. So, some people don't like that. Some people don't like Freddy Pharkas because they think, where's the traveling? Where's the grand sense of adventure? There really isn't one. And I guess if that's what you want, then yeah, that's true. There's not much of that in the game. But I still think it's a pretty good game. I actually think it's a very nice adventure. I think it makes a very nice story. And I think it's quite enjoyable in spite of the fact that you're not traveling on a long journey over land and sea. You don't need to have that to have a good adventure or a good story. So anyway, the reason why you want to play the game slowly, though, the reason why you don't want to rush through the game, is because it only takes place in that one town. You want to kind of get to know the town first. You want to kind of get to... What I usually do, I highly recommend, if you folks ever play Freddy Pharkas, I very, very strongly recommend you spend the first part of the game exploring the town and getting used to it and seeing everything that there is in the town. That's what I intend to do, because later portions of the game are timed. There's not actually a timer on the screen per se, but it's actually even worse than that. It's an invisible timer. It's a timer that you can't see on the screen, and if you run out of time, then you die. So before getting to the part of the game which is timed and where you have to kind of hurry up and get stuff done, I highly recommend that you explore the town and get used to it and see everything that there is to see there. So that's what I intend to do when I make the Let's Play. And one of the reasons why you want to do that also is because it's actually one of the funniest games ever made. Now, Freddy Pharkas is an interesting game. It's got a kind of a split personality. On the one hand, it's meant as a comedy. It's a very slapstick kind of comedy. For those who don't know, it was co-written by Al Lowe, who of course is the guy who wrote and designed the Leisure Suit Larry games, and Josh Mandel. And Josh Mandel was kind of... he was always sort of an underrated force at Sierra. He is not as well known as some of the other folks, but he did a lot of work, a lot of sort of co-writing and additional writing on a lot of Sierra games, and he is also a very funny guy, but his sense of humor is kind of almost the opposite of Al Lowe's. So Al Lowe is more of a silly, slapstick, goofy kind of comedy kind of guy. I mean, if you've played the Leisure Suit Larry games, you know what I'm talking about. It's the sort of comedy that you'd get from a porn movie. Not necessarily even like a porn movie, but like a B-movie. Sort of silly B-movie kind of, dude, where's my car kind of comedy. And not that there's anything wrong with that, of course, but that's one style of comedy which stands in sort of contrast to a more... little bit more of a toned-down sense of humor, which Josh Mandel tends to go for, which you may have seen if you've played, for example, Callahan's Cross Time Saloon, a later adventure game which Josh Mandel wrote. So, Freddy Pharkas was, yeah, co-written by the two of them. You had Josh Mandel and Al Lowe collaborating on the game, and it makes for a game with a really split personality. You have... oops, I died, but that's okay, I just lost 1 bar of health. This game is not easy. It's a pretty difficult game. And this is actually one of the easier parts of it. Later parts get even more difficult. I'm just going to dodge past that barrel. So, anyway, so Freddy Pharkas, you end up with a game which has this really sort of split personality when it comes to its humor. On the one hand, you have some jokes which are just really, like, kind of lowbrow. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing per se, but it's one side of comedy. You have these really... Yeah, you can set those wagons on fire like that if you shoot them 5 times. So you have a very sort of, you know, a sense of humor that's grounded in fart jokes and poop jokes and sight gags and things like that. And then, on the other hand, you have a sense of humor that tends to be grounded in references. Freddy Pharkas is one of the most in-joke heavy games ever made, probably. Well, I know there are some games today like, I don't know, A Bobo's Big Adventure, for example, which pretty much consists entirely of nothing but in-jokes to other games. But Freddy Pharkas makes enormous references to all kinds of Western movies. Oops, I got hit by a bullet from that guy. Now I have to start all the way over here again. So yeah, Freddy Pharkas makes a huge number of references to movies like, at the time that the game came out, for example, Clint Eastwood's movie Unforgiven had just come out, and I believe there's some reference to that in the game. So it references everything from that to very, very old Western movies. It references things like, you know, I mean, John Wayne type stuff like Cat Ballou, and so on and so forth. So it really just... it references and rips off just about everything that it can think of. And a lot of the fun in the game is playing Spot the Reference, just figuring out what is that a reference to, what is that sort of a line or an in-joke borrowed from. So you have that, you have this more sort of, I don't know if I want to say cultured, but at least sort of more self-aware kind of comedy, and then you have a comedy that's just grounded in, oh there you go, there's the cave that marks the end of that desert segment. I'm sorry, I know that I'm rambling a little bit because I'm trying to concentrate on the game at the same time that I'm talking. I always have this problem. I always want to play a game so that it's not just me talking, but then I kind of am only half thinking about what I'm saying, and I end up talking for way too long because I don't remember exactly what I've said and where I'm supposed to be going with this line of conversation. Anyway, so this is the third section of the game, The Old Man's Mind, which is not very, well, if you just look at how he jumps, you can probably get an idea of how ridiculous the physics in this section are. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. There you go. At least when you get that lantern, then things start to become colored instead of being in black and white like they were, but gosh. And this is exactly how mines were in the Old West. You had these huge spinning shurikens just sort of traveling through the mines of their own volition. That is exactly how mining operations were conducted in Gold Rush era California. And just like in the previous section, I think in every section of this game you need to get 10 keys to advance to the next. Anyway, so yeah, Freddy Pharkas. I'll try to continue talking about that game again. It has an enormously divided sense of humor, but despite that, it is still a very funny game, and in my opinion, a very enjoyable game. So what I really want to do when I'm playing it, what I really will want to do is take my time, explore everything, click on everything that I can, because almost everything, almost every object in the game has some sort of a joke associated with it. And actually, one really remarkable thing about the game, one thing that I want to say about the game that particularly impresses me, almost every interaction between two inventory items... Yeah, I'm full on ammo now. Almost every interaction between two different inventory items has a message. So, you know when you had most point-and-click Sierra Adventure games, you could click two inventory items on each other, and if you clicked together two items that weren't supposed to go together, you would just get a message that said something like, these two items don't go together, or you can't do that, or you can't use these items with each other, or something like that. Just something very generic, right? In Freddy Pharkas, they actually took the time to make a special customized message for almost every two things that you can click together. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they do anything useful. Mostly they don't do anything useful. But instead of just giving you a dopey, oh, that doesn't work, you can't do that, these items don't work together, it actually prints out a funny sort of specially written joke or message just for those two items. So almost everything that you can do in the game, almost every action elicits some sort of written message or some sort of something that the writers of the game actually took the time to write. So that really impresses me a lot, that they didn't just kind of skimp on the writing for the game and just write for the things that were essential to completing the game. I'm always really impressed by games that don't just focus on winning the game and don't just give you the minimum that's required to win the game, but actually give you... Oh, there's an old guy with a gun. I'm going to have to figure out some way of dealing with him now. Maybe I can just jump over him? That is not working out very well. Whoa. You can... Oh, he shot me. I probably should have tried shooting him. That probably would have been the smart thing to do. But the physics in this game make that exceedingly difficult. So I'm always very impressed by games that do that, that actually give you the ability to really enjoy the full sort of flavor, as it were, of the game, and don't just give you the feeling that you're just here to finish the game. So, Freddy Pharkas, when I'm playing that game, if I'm showing that game to you folks, I want to really do that. Why can't I land on that platform? Is that really, is it just like a, it's some kind of a, Am I just not landing in the center? No, I just somehow... Wow, that's weird. Hop! Oh, and now the snake's gonna kill me. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna have to go... Alright, there we go. That took care of the snake. Oh, there's that elderly gentleman again who's here to... Hey, come on. Alright, there we go. I got him. Oh, and he killed me. What? How did he kill me? What killed me? I shot the guy, so what hurt me? I don't know. This game, at this point, this game gets a little bit silly. The game starts off not terrible. I guess it starts off pretty bad and then gets worse from there. Anyhow. So, once again about Freddy Pharkas. Oh, now I can... Oh, I could land on the top thing, but not the bottom thing. So, Freddy Pharkas. Oh, now I can land on that thing. I guess you have to really land right in the center of it. Ah, and you have to shoot those shurikens so that the old Western ninja shurikens don't kill you. Because, of course, there were lots of ninjas in the old Wild West. It was famous for its practitioners of ninjutsu. Like that one. So I really want to take the time to explore everything in the game right from the beginning, because later on in the game you don't have the chance. Later on in the game, things start developing, the plot starts developing, and then you won't have time to click on everything and explore everything anymore because you're kind of in a hurry and you need to get stuff done before time runs out. And it's not a really stringent time penalty. It's not like you really urgently have to do everything within a few seconds, but you don't have the time to just leisurely explore everything the way you do at the beginning. Only at the beginning of the game, at the very beginning, do you have the time to look at everything and explore everything and find everything that there is in the game. So I want to do that. I want to really go through all the rooms in the game. There are only about a dozen of them. The whole game comprises only maybe a dozen rooms or so, maybe a couple of dozen at most. So, whoa. That wagon with a bomb and gold in it can shoot at me for some reason. There's not even anybody inside it, but somehow it has the ability to... There we go, finally it blew up. Somehow it has the ability to shoot at me without a human operator. I guess the gold inside has a mounted machine gun inside it that's shooting at me. So yeah, I'm going to spend the first several videos, the first several videos of Freddy Pharkas just going around, exploring everything, clicking on everything, and trying to get all the jokes and funny references and puns and things like that I can get. That's going to take a long time. I think probably the first half of the LP, of the Let's Play almost, is going to be just me fooling around and exploring everything and finding all the places that are there in the game. Wow, I'm all the way back here? That's ridiculous. And then once that's done, then we can start with the plot of the game. So the point with all this rambling is that if I start playing Freddy Pharkas, there's going to be even more rambling, because I'm really gonna, like I said, I'm going to spend a lot of time just trying to get everything that I can out of the game before the plot itself takes over. I think really the point of Freddy Pharkas is to get yourself acquainted with Coarse Gold, the town that the game takes place in, really start to feel at home there and kind of feel like you're comfortable there before you get into the plot. And then probably the second half of the Let's Play is going to be me showing off what happens when things actually start happening in Coarse Gold. Somehow I just passed right through that ninja star. So, in these... I've been talking for almost 24 minutes. In these 24 minutes, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. The point is, I tend to ramble a lot, as you've just seen, and I'm going to ramble a lot when I play Freddy Pharkas. But I think it's a game that's suited for that. I think it's a game which, more than most adventure games, probably you'd want to play in that fashion, because if you just play it to try and finish it, I think you're playing it wrong. I think you're doing it wrong if you just want to finish the game as quickly as possible. You're not really going to get much out of the game if you just want to get right to the story, get right to the puzzles, and just finish the game as quickly as possible. And I thought I shot that bomb, but I guess I did not. And I'm all the way back here again. Wow, crazy. Alright, that's pretty much what I wanted to say about that. So, those of you who've been watching a fellow sort of... It's not nominally called a Let's Play, because back then I don't think they even called them Let's Plays, but many of you might be familiar with a series called Freeman's Mind, which is basically, what the heck? Which is basically a, it's not called a Let's Play, but it's basically a Let's Play of Half-Life, done by a gentleman named Ross, if I remember right, whose channel is called Accursed Farms. A lot of you know whom I'm talking about. And Freeman's Mind has been a very long-running series on the internet, on YouTube. It took Ross something like, wow, that section right there is not. I'm not doing too well on that section, I must admit. Ross took something like, I think, 7 years. He just recently finished a few weeks ago. After 7 years, he finally finished playing through Half-Life. So, I don't think I'm going to take that long to play Freddy Pharkas, but my point is it's going to be a while. I'm going to take my time. I don't want to rush through it. It's the kind of game that you want to savor. You want to enjoy it rather than just trying to get to the end. So, I'm going to take a long time. Videos are probably not going to be very frequent. And when I do finally play the game, I'm going to take a long time. Because I tend to ramble, and that's what I do best, so I might as well just embrace it and do what I do best. I probably won't take, like, I'm probably not going to take 7 years to finish Freddy Pharkas, like Freeman's Mind took to finish Half-Life, but it's going to be a while. Anyway, the big question that I did want to ask you folks, the point that I've been leading up to, and the one thing that I really wanted to ask everyone before I finish off here is this. Freddy Pharkas, if I end up Let's Playing it, which I probably will, which I plan to do at this point, the game is available in both a floppy text version, which means that, you know, the messages just appear as text messages on the screen. I'm going to have 2 bullets ahead of me this time. I'm going to do this. Yeah, have 2 bullets ready. There we go. That took care of that guy before. That's another good thing to do in this game, is have a couple of bullets preemptively going ahead of you so that you can shoot things which are not yet on the screen. You can see it's an effective tactic. Okay, Freddy Pharkas is available in both a floppy disk text version, which means that you have to read all the messages as text, and there was also a CD-ROM talkie version for it, which means that there's actual voice acting in that version. Now, my personal preference, if I speak for myself, my personal preference when I play a game between those 2 choices is the floppy text version. I prefer reading to having somebody act something out. I prefer that. I prefer being able to read the messages, because that way there's no risk of mishearing something. Often I have that problem where I didn't hear one word, and then I just say, wait, what? What did that person say? And I have no idea, because you can't go back and hear what they said again. Whereas when you're reading, you can just take as much time as you want to read. So I prefer that myself. I'm just not really into voice acting. And for me, it would be a no-brainer. For me, I would just reflexively, automatically say, of course I'm going to play the floppy version and do my own voice acting. So when I read the messages, I'm going to do my own voice acting. And Freddy Pharkas is a great game for voice acting because it's full of lots of silly characters. It has just about every sort of ridiculous stereotype you can imagine. Well, not every ridiculous stereotype, but it has a lot of ridiculous stereotypes in it. Pretty much every character is a goofy stereotype of some kind, and therefore it has myriad opportunities for goofy voice acting. Made it to the end of this section as well. Oh, you survived the Wild West. Except I didn't. I think I only survived the first 3 episodes of the game. I think, Alright, well anyway. So, there's plenty of opportunity for silly voice acting in Freddy Pharkas, but I would normally do that myself. I would normally just say, okay, I'm going to do the voice acting myself, but I still have some kind of, to be perfectly honest, negative memories of when I did Quest for Glory 4. So, when Her Crabbiness and I did Quest for Glory 4, several years ago now, I got so many comments, and I complained about it at the time. I got so many comments from people saying, wow, the voice acting for this game was so good. I remember the voice acting on the CD-ROM version of this game. I really wish that you had played the talkie CD-ROM version instead of doing the voices yourself. And at the time, I just kind of brushed it off and thought, well, what the heck? I mean, No, we chose to do the voices ourselves, and we stood by that choice, and I don't regret it. But now that enter my name. Let's see. Do I want to be that guy, or should I actually just? I'll just type in the name that I go by. All right. Oh, wow! I did better than Jesse James. I guess that's pretty impressive. All right. I'll just let this game go back to the demo, and I'll just finish talking over the demo. That way, I'll be able to focus more on what I'm saying. So, yeah, a lot of people complained in Quest for Glory 4 that the original voice acting for the game was so good that it really would have been better if I hadn't done the voices. And at the time, I was so upset about that. I was so just sort of, frankly, a little bit disappointed that so many people complained about that specifically. That my solution was, okay, you know what, I'm never again going to do a game that had a talkie version. Never again am I going to make a Let's Play of an adventure that actually had voice acting in it, or two different versions, like a version with voice acting and a version without. Because my choice would be to play the version without voice acting, but clearly people would prefer to have professional actors doing the voices and not hear me doing the voices. So I thought, okay, I'm just not going to do games that had voices anymore. If people want to hear that, they can play the game themselves. There's no point in making a Let's Play if you just want to hear the original voices from the game. But here I am now in a situation where I want to play Freddy Pharkas. I want to make a Let's Play of it. And I have to make a decision. Am I going to do the voices myself? Am I going to play the floppy version and do the voices myself? Or should I just play the talkie version and not do my own voice acting and just let the game narrate itself? So I wanted to ask you folks. I wanted to sort of put out a bit of a poll there and ask everyone, what would you folks prefer? Would you prefer that that you get the original version of the game, like the original voice acting, the CD-ROM version with the actors that Sierra hired to voice the game, so you can hear the original voices from the game? Or would you prefer to have the floppy text version where you see the text on the screen and then I would do the narration and I would make the voices myself? That is my question to you folks. Which would you rather see or hear, or both, I guess? What would you rather see and hear in a theoretical future Let's Play of Freddy Pharkas, which hopefully is not too distant in the future? I don't know when I'm going to start it or when I'm going to be able to start it. I guess theoretically I could start any time. I could probably start in a few days, but before I do that, I wanted to get the opinion of you folks and see what you folks had to say about that. So anyone who has an opinion, who has something to say about that, please post your comments in the comments to the video, as per the YouTube commenting facility. And I will read your responses, of course, and I'll put some thought into it, and at some point in the future we'll see how that shakes out. We'll see what becomes of the decision to voice or not to voice, or I guess more specifically to do one's own voices or to let the game do its own voices. I guess that's it. In half an hour, I finally managed to pose the question that I wanted to ask when I originally made this video. That's the question that I wanted to ask when I made this video originally. And I don't really remember what I talked about the rest of the time. I think I talked about... I don't know. Did I talk about... what did I talk about? I don't know. I have this remarkable ability to talk about nothing for a ridiculously long period of time. I should be one of those morning talk show hosts. You know those morning radio talk shows where you always have usually a couple of people who basically talk about nothing. Somehow they manage to spend 3 or 4 hours every morning talking about absolutely nothing. They just talk about pure gibberish, and people actually listen to it. I could be one of those people because I manage to fill enormous amounts of talk time with 0 content. It's actually a little bit depressing when you think about it. I would actually prefer to say something of substance, but if you can't say something of substance, you can always become a politician or a media personality. I guess in a sense I am a media personality since I have this YouTube channel. I guess I am sort of a digital media personality of sorts. I guess I'm fulfilling my my destiny as a person of no substance. Alright. I guess that's it. And at this point, I'd like to let the demo play out. I'm curious to see how far the demo goes. I'd actually like to see how far does the demo play itself. Does it play through the whole game? No, it returns to the title screen after that. So, okay. Okay, I guess that was that. That is all that I had to say about whatever it was that I was saying something about. So, again, Freddy Pharkas, floppy version or CD-ROM version? Leave your comments, and I will talk to you folks later. Thank you folks for watching, and for listening, and for stuff and things. Oh. Wow, that woman has braids like Dilbert's necktie. And this guy... I just want to see the pictures now. That was probably the best part of the video, that woman's hair. How does she get her hair to stand up like that? She had a hair boner. Okay. I guess that's all, is it? Is that really it? Yeah, that's all. Okay. Alright, that's all. Thank you folks again for everything. I will talk to you folks later. Bye-bye for now.